Okay, so we've all heard that fringe conspiracy theory, right? The one about cold-blooded lizard people secretly running the world? It's pretty easy to just laugh it off. But what if there's something else going on? What if there's a kernel of truth buried in there? Today, we're diving into a source theory that flips that entire idea on its head.
What if it's not just some crazy story someone made up? What if it's more like a scrambled memory, a kind of cultural echo of a real power structure that's been shaping our world for thousands of years?
You see, the theory we're exploring today isn't about biology. It's about knowledge. It argues that the whole cold-blooded thing was never meant to be literal. It's a metaphor for the cold, hard, calculated use of specialized knowledge as the ultimate tool for power.
To really unpack this, we have to start with the one symbol that shows up over and over and over again in our oldest myths, the serpent. I mean, think about it. The serpent is everywhere. It's a symbol for medicine, that double-edged knowledge that can either kill you or cure you. It's a symbol for wisdom, offering up that forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden. It even represents royalty on the crowns of pharaohs and immortality. So according to this theory, the serpent was never a literal animal. It was a symbol for a very specific type of person, the keepers of dangerous, world-altering knowledge.
So how did this serpent class, let's call them, even come into being? Well, the theory points to a single massive catastrophe that basically hit the reset button on the entire world, creating a whole new kind of power, one based on information, not brute force.
Here's how it might have gone down. First, some kind of global disaster just wipes civilization off the map. A tiny group of survivors manages to save the source code, the knowledge of farming, astronomy, engineering. Now, to the scattered primitive tribes who are left, this knowledge would seem like straight-up magic. Being able to predict an eclipse, that's not science, that's prophecy. Knowing basic hygiene, that's a miracle cure. And right there, that gap in knowledge becomes the brand new foundation for power.
And this is the key idea. A society run by technicians becomes a society run by priests. The people who knew how to build an irrigation ditch became the people who claimed to speak for the rain gods. This is exactly how knowledge, when you hoard it and keep it secret, stops being about discovery and turns into a tool for control.
And you better believe this new ruling class fought to keep their advantage. They made knowledge complicated on purpose. They used sacred languages like Latin or hieroglyphics that nobody else could read. They built secret societies with intense initiation rites. They told everyone their power came directly from the gods, and if anyone dared to seek knowledge on their own, well, they were branded a heretic and punished.
Now, if any of this is true, it means our most sacred stories might be something else entirely. The source material suggests we shouldn't be reading them as theology, but as garbled history.
Let's just take the story of Eden. We're all taught it's about sin, a moral failing. But what if it's actually an anthropological field report, a story about the incredibly traumatic shift from being a free-roaming forager, where you can just grab fruit from any tree, to the rigid, controlled life of a farmer, where you have to work all day, and you absolutely cannot touch the forbidden fruit on someone else's land? Maybe the fall wasn't a fall from grace, it was the fall into civilization.
And this is where it gets really compelling. When you actually look at the names. In the original Hebrew, these aren't just names, they're job titles. Adam means earth worker. Eve means life giver. Cain literally means smith or metal worker. This isn't a family tree. It's a professional registry, a list of the essential jobs you'd need to reboot civilization after a total collapse.
This brings us to the actual physical evidence. What if the most famous, most incredible structures of the ancient world have been completely misunderstood this whole time?
Let's look at the Sphinx. Geologists agree it shows clear signs of being eroded by massive amounts of rainfall. But wait a minute, the Sahara has been a bone-dry desert for the last 7,000 years. So how could a statue that was supposedly built around 2500 BCE be worn down by rains it never ever saw? The theory says there's only one way. The Sphinx has to be way, way older, from a time when the Sahara was a lush green savanna.
And this all leads to something called the bunker hypothesis. The idea is that these amazing structures weren't built as tombs for pharaohs. They were built before the pharaohs even existed. They were survival vaults, built by a lost, advanced civilization to weather a global catastrophe, to act as archives, preserving knowledge, seeds, and the very blueprint for how to rebuild the world. So this ancient power structure, this serpent class of knowledge hoarders, didn't just fade away. According to this source, it just changed its costume.
Let's just follow the pattern through time. The titles changed, the language changed, but the fundamental job, controlling information to control society, stayed exactly the same.
It all started with the ancient priest king, the one who controlled the calendar, the writing, the astronomy. They didn't just rule the people, they owned the entire operating system of civilization.
Fast forward a bit, and you have the medieval bishop. In a world where almost no one could read, he controlled the sacred texts. He was the gatekeeper of reality, speaking a holy language the common person couldn't possibly understand.
Jump ahead to the modern world, and a new version pops up: the lawyer, the only one who can interpret a legal code that is deliberately, almost impossibly complex. You basically need your own priest just to navigate our laws.
In today, what's the final form? It's the algorithm, a total black box, a secret, proprietary system of code that controls the flow of information for billions of people, shaping our reality with zero transparency or explanation.
Which brings this whole theory crashing right into our present, focusing on the single most powerful technology that has ever been invented.
I mean, look at the fight we're having over AI right this very second. This theory would say it's the same exact battle we've been fighting for thousands of years. On one side, you've got open source AI, a real chance to finally give knowledge to everyone, like a Star Trek future. And on the other, you have proprietary AI, the new priesthood, creating a kind of digital feudalism, where your entire life is determined by your access to information. And that brings us to the ultimate mind-bending conclusion of all this. Maybe we've had the story completely wrong the whole time. The serpent in the garden? Maybe it wasn't the bad guy. Maybe it was the original whistleblower, offering humanity the one thing that could set us free: knowledge. And the priests just called it a sin so they could stay in charge.
So the question this whole explainer leaves us with isn't really about ancient history, it's about right now. After thousands and thousands of years, this long war over the control of knowledge is finally coming to a head. We actually have the tools to end the serpent's code for good. So the only question left is, which future are we going to build?